Hi guys, it's Shauna with angelsandmehealing.com on Facebook, Shauna Heart and Soul. I shared something today to my Facebook page, something that struck something in me and reminded me of one of the really first steps for me in digging out of deep clinical depression and a miserable life to happiness and positivity, right? Not always, but most of the time. Um, So this is what it was. It was a meme. And it's just a picture of a woman on it, but it says, me. Why do I constantly put myself down? Higher self. Someone who was supposed to love you put you down, and now you unconsciously self-harm to beat others to it. It gives you a false sense of control. So I find this a really, really important part of some of our processes. I want to share that for me, I had a parent that was very wounded person, and she was mean, and she was always putting you down and always, cutting into everything that you did or didn't do. And it was like you could just never do anything right, and you just weren't acceptable, right? So it's just part of my past. So I realized really when I got to my rock bottom, which would be when my husband and I separated, um, way back in 2006. That was kind of a rock bottom for me. And at that point was when I heard a voice when I was driving and I was crying and I was miserable and I was like, why can I just not be happy? And I said it out loud. And I heard this male voice, which was the first thing I've ever heard in my whole life outside of me when nobody else was with me. And it said, happiness is a choice. You have to choose it. And it struck my heart and expanded my heart like no other. It was truth, right? I had to change something. One of the first things that I ended up doing on my own was realizing what was going through my brain. I'm telling you, if you are bullying yourself in any way with your thought process, you cannot be happy. You can't be. I had this bully in my head. You're not good enough. The simplest things. First off, it runs nonstop. Sometimes it was my mother's voice. Sometimes it was just me. But I realized I had kind of taken it over and I was ridiculing myself every chance I had. And you can't climb out of anything when that's going on. And so I took my first step was I got to change that. I couldn't afford therapy. I couldn't afford the extra help. I was a mess and I was at rock bottom, devastated. I was a disaster. But I was going to be happy. I was choosing it, right? After I heard the voice in the car, I was like, okay, I'm choosing it. I'm happy. I'm happy no matter what's going on. I'm going to be happy. And then I started noticing that voice. So what I did was I would hear myself say something nasty or mean or degrading or judgy about myself. And I would say, no, that's not true. And I would pick a completely opposite statement to replace it with. Believe me, I didn't believe any of it in the beginning. I was like rolling my eyes as I was saying these things to myself, right? I'm like, no, you're not a bitch. You're actually a really loving, caring person who's really overwhelmed, and you're working on it, right? And I started building myself in that way. That was my first step. My first step to recovery, my first step from climbing out of a mood disorder, from climbing out of clinical depression, from being on 6 or 8 different medications at a time, trying to control my depression and my moods and be able to move through the world. So that's where I come from, right? So I wanted to share with you guys that if you do nothing else for yourself, listen to how you are speaking to yourself and realize you're just as special as anyone else. Realize that none of that is true. And that those people who spoke to you that way at the time were really wounded souls. And the truth is, they felt that way about themselves. So my poor mother had a hellacious life. I can't even imagine it, right? Mine was not easy with her, but it wasn't what hers was. She was really, really, really wounded. She couldn't love herself. She couldn't even like herself. I don't even know how she was walking through the world. I don't know how she's still walking through the world because she's still that way. But I just want you to know that it isn't about you. It was about them. It's about how they feel about themselves. And they cannot express love and concern and what you need as a child um, when they are severely wounded and lost themselves. And this is one of the ways that abusive behaviors happen, right? So, what do? We have to climb out. We have to climb out ourselves. That's what my work is about. That's what I help people with. The wounding of the self, the healing of those wounds, the understanding of the self, the understanding of your energy, the all of it. But I'm telling you right now, the first step, get rid of that nasty talk in your head. You've got to switch it. You it's a process, it's difficult, but let me say that if you can just start changing those thoughts, if you can just replace them. I don't care if 95 times a day you're saying something bad and then saying no, this is the truth, and finding something positive to say. It will eventually retrain your brain and you will get rid of that. You may need some additional help. That's what I'm here for, right? That's why I share this stuff. That's why I do this with people. My guided healing program, it can be amazing, and it's absolutely just about you. So, anyway, I wanted to share this because I think this is super important. And for me, it was the base of my building blocks, from misery and hatefulness to self to where I'm at now, right? Um, it's a process. Be really compassionate with yourself. And honestly, a lot of it's about reparenting, right? You just got to reparent the self. So I hope this is helpful. And it's the end of the day, so I probably look a little tired. I don't know. But I just had to get this out while it was fresh in my mind. So, anyway, any questions? If anybody wants to talk about my programs or how I might be able to help you, I'm always available. So, thank you. Thanks for being here. I so appreciate every one of you. And hopefully we'll talk soon. Bye.